Are you curious about how Capstone Leadership Solutions can help your small healthcare organization to improve and grow with more speed and ease? If so, reach out to us at capstoneleadership.net. There's a contact us page, or you can email us at info@capstoneleadership.net. We're here to help.
So just for those listening, if you're starting a journey, there are people who are going to buy in right away and just feel it. But that at the same time, there are those who are waiting to see if the data will show that there is progress being made.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Thanks for pressing play on another episode of Culture Change RX. And today is one of those episodes where I have a guest in the studio. And this is a repeat guest. I have Ben Davis here for his fourth guest appearance. And we intentionally set out to have a chronicle of his organization's transformation initiative and to capture it here and share it with our audience through the podcast. So I'll have Ben start us out by an introduction of himself and his organization, and then I'll come back and set a little context about the format or the timeline of activities that have been going on in this first year at his organization. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me. So I am Ben Davis, President and CEO of Glencoe Regional Health. We are an independent critical access hospital. We have 3 clinics, 108-bed long-term care facility, 40 apartment independent living center, and we have over 650 employees. We've been serving our community since 1941.
Rich history in your rural community.
Yes, and a lot of pride, I would say, from our community and our staff being able to serve our communities, I should say. We serve the regions. It's really an honor. I think, that's how I look at it, is it's an honor to be able to serve the people who are our neighbors, our family members, and provide them with the best possible care.
That resonates so much with me. I just have loved my career and my focus in rural healthcare for those same reasons. It's just so joyful to be part of serving the people that you live next to and your kids go to school with and you sit next to in church and walk into at the grocery store. So yeah, it comes with a lot of pride and purpose, but also a lot of responsibility to do it well because you want to do it well for them. And that's really what this is all about, right? This initiative that your organization is formalizing and embarking upon. Of course, with your rich history, you've always been wanting to do great things and serve the needs of your community. And now you're looking at ways to systematize that, optimize that, to grow and serve them continuously well into the future. And so that's really the focus of today. So I wanted to set a little context for our audience, Ben, because, many people listen to the podcast and they might be looking for a gem or two for applying to their organization. But in your organization, it's a big multifaceted initiative. It's not just one thing, it's many things. And it's really a multifaceted organized effort that you're embarking upon. And when we work with organizations like yours, the process that we use and have been using for about 13, 14 years now through our work at Capstone Leadership Solutions is about a 26, 27-month process. And that first phase, that early phase, we call phase 1, where we're getting ready, right? We're assessing the organization. We're understanding the strategic priorities. We're setting up aligned teams and leadership development plans with those priorities. And we're setting up the first year action plans. And then we come on site and those action plans for the first year are put in the hands of leaders, put in the hands of teams. and they're provided training resources and support to be able to implement those plans. And then we go through a process of the leadership immersion where there's 2 days of on-site training. So the leaders start really learning the leadership model. All along the way, we're supporting the teams and the leaders. And then there's a third visit, which is the third visit near the end of year one, where our team comes on site and they're helping facilitate a look back to how things have been going the first year. And they're also looking forward to what are the plans for next year. And your team and your leaders have more ownership in crafting that plan for the next year as a way of learning how to plan independently, autonomously. And so that's where you're at right now. I just wanted to catch everyone up and put the context around that. So as we discuss the look back, how, what's been done and what have been the results of that. And we look forward to what's next. And we have a conversation today, Ben, about that they understand kind of like the point in time. But I encourage people to listen back on episodes 1, 2, and 3, maybe in order, to really capture the essence of this. So to start with, in our company, we always start any gathering or conversation for the most part with positivity, wins, successes, progress. So I'm just going to open up with a broad question there to you. What's been going well? What progress has been made? What results are you starting to see? We'll start with that.
There's, I would say, 2 specific areas that we've seen progress. One, well, both were measurable. The first was our Leadership Development Institute. We held our first Leadership Development Institute with peer champions being responsible and leading the education and the development. And they did a phenomenal job. So we had a survey after the Leadership Development Institute, and we asked out of 1 to 5, how do you feel the leadership development went? And came back as a 4.93. It was phenomenal. It was getting leaders together outside of our facility. We hadn't done that before, and we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. It was actually a little concerning because everyone's busy with the whirlwind and everyone's concerned about, well, I'm not going to be available for my team. But the reality is there's so much talent that we have in our organization, and to get them connected and outside focused on leadership development, it was just a breath of fresh air. The second thing is that we developed organizational-wide goals, and those goals, each department, each leader developed department-specific goals, and we got our first quarter of data back, and we have some departments that are knocking it out of the park. They are focused. It's tweaking little things that make it a big impact. It's being intentional about the patient surveys, understanding the patient surveys, and focusing on how do we make an impact on this specific item. And we're seeing the outcome in a positive way. So it's really, we're just beginning, and we had the opportunity to meet with your team from Capstone yesterday or 2 days ago, and it helped me see the future and what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it is exciting to get some of those positive reinforcements in that first year to take that momentum and that optimism into year 2 and beyond. It's really important. So I'm wondering, when you look back on the first year, you already mentioned the whirlwind as a challenge for making these changes to get these kind of results, but are there other insights that, as you're sitting there as the CEO, looking back on year 1, where you've seen different challenges surface to be able to proceed and make progress on your action plans?
Yes,
There's always going to be, right, Ben?
Our team had a good discussion about this recently, and we're trying to define, well, what is the whirlwind? The whirlwind is day-to-day operations. It is a sick call-in on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It is a patient issue that needs to be addressed now and cannot wait. It is all of these things that come up unexpectedly and layered with the day-to-day operations of running a department, a facility as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been the challenge, right? I think what really hit me the other day in our engagement with Capstone leadership was it's not extra work. It is work, but this is how we do business.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we operate. And with these recommendations from Capstone, it'll just be what we do. It's not more, it's what we do. It's what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We have a great facility.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
great people. We have a ton of talent in our staff and leadership. But these small tweaks that we're working on, and Sue, I don't think you and your team are bringing us anything out of this world. It is just
Mm-mm.
it's an intentional focus on doing what's right for our patients, residents, employees, and community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but the whirlwind will get in your way. So those who are
Always.
listening, the whirlwind will try to slow you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it seems counterintuitive, doesn't it, Ben? Because I know that organizations that we partner with, like yours, you have your sights on two things: greatness and growth, right? You want to meet more of your community's needs locally, have access, ease of access, speed of access, the right things that your community needs from their local community hospital. So you want to be able to grow, but at the same time, you want to do that in a way that you're offering things that are of great quality. So you don't want to just do things to do things. You want to do them very well for your community. And it seems counterintuitive that this initiative is really about efforts to get better and to grow. But at the same time, we want that whirlwind to calm down. And it doesn't seem like that could be possible. But it's something to be optimistic and hopeful about, isn't it, Ben?
You know what, Sue? I've been thinking about this, and when you're doing things right in an effective way and everybody's aligned, it actually reduces the stress levels. So you become more productive, you become more efficient because you're not having, it's like taking care of something right away and not letting it fester.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it festers, then it becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
Well, if you can address it right away, then that reduces your whirlwind. When we are addressing things up front and we have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what our goals are, that is powerful.
It is. You're describing exactly why it works. Some of the mechanisms that make that work, that you can be bigger, your whirlwind can be calmer. And so you're describing that exactly. It's that shift, right? From reactive to proactive, and to intervene early and even proactively prevent some of the that create time and energy suck in the whirlwind. So, yeah, it's usually the number one barrier, Ben. So, when you describe that, we've, through our company, been able to identify 7 common barriers that will surface, but the whirlwind is always at or near the top of the list when we start in year 1, 2, definitely. But it will calm down over time. So that's good news. That is hopeful news. Anything else you wanted to say about that, Ben, or any change challenge?
Well, I would say, we had a lot of questions in year 1, and we still do.
Yeah.
We're figuring out, and I think that's the unknown, the uncertainty of,
Hmm.
okay, where are we headed? Where is this going to go? Is this going to be the flavor of the month? What's next? How are we going to do all of this work while we deal with day-to-day operations and everything that's going up? So transparently, it is challenging.
Always.
Is very challenging. And I think the key component, though, you have to have leadership support for it. You cannot have inconsistency.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
have to have grit, perseverance over a long period of time. That's the key to being successful in your program. And we have to stay the course. I think that is the message, but also the challenge is
Mhm.
there will be people who say, I don't want to do this. This is outside of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
I tell our staff and leaders, it's okay to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's true. Yeah, that means that we're on the cusp of some growth personally too, right? And professionally. There's always opportunities individually and collectively for us to do that, that it's the marathon, not the sprint. And you mentioned the word grit and perseverance. It's really a mindset that you want, not just in the individuals, definitely in the leadership right at the top, especially that commitment and that grit long term. We are an entirely different organization on a different trajectory of growth and greatness because we decided to do things in these new, better ways, even though it was uncomfortable and even though it was challenging. So kudos to your organization. The race is always hard and some miles are harder than the others. And the first couple of years are hard miles.
Definitely, definitely, but also rewarding.
Yeah.
Also rewarding, and to see the accomplishments, the things that we've been able to achieve, the things that we've wanted to do for years but haven't been able to accomplish
Mm-hmm.
because of the whirlwind, because we had a smaller number of people working towards initiatives. Now we have frontline staff working towards these initiatives, getting these things done, leaders getting these things done. We're accelerating the pace of change in
Mm-hmm.
a positive way.
And again, the pace of change is taking an uptick. But at the same time, what you also want is that the ease of it maybe improves as well. So your organization, I know its leaders and its employees through these teams and through these goals are learning about a new way of changing as well. And again, to be more proactive about understanding what barriers we're going to come up against and being willing to persevere through them when you want to give up, when it gets hard.
Yeah, and we're not giving up. I will say,
No. No,
well,
I know you're not.
again, this is, it seems now so obvious that this is the right thing to do. It's
Mhm.
the right thing to do, again, for our patients, our employees, our residents, and our community, because we're not doing anything outlandish. It's just being intentional about structuring the right things and creating the system and the
Mhm.
foundation to be able to achieve those things.
Yeah. So I want to go a little deeper and circle back on the topic of change and change barriers and change challenges. And last time in our third episode together, we talked about that diffusion curve. And so people might want to go back and listen to that about how big groups of humans will change or not change over time, like at a different pace, at a different rate. But it's a process and it takes time so that it isn't flavor of the month. You mentioned that, people still have this in their mind that it could be, and they're waiting and watching and they're seeing, and they're maybe not starting yet because they're thinking, why start? Because it's probably going to go away. Why invest my time and energy in this? Because it's probably going to go away because other things in my life or in my organization have started and stopped. And that can be perceived as a lack of buy in. That, if they're not doing yet, the things that the teams are bringing out to all employees, the things that the steering team and the peer champions are bringing out to leaders about new ways of leading, if they're not doing it yet, we can say they haven't bought in yet. And that's a phrase that we hear a lot. But really, it means, really, in technical terms, in this idea of adoption and diffusion, is they haven't adopted it yet. They haven't said yes to it yet. And the fact of the matter is in these first few years, there's going to be more people not doing it the new, better way than the people that are doing it the new, better way. It's the minority that are bought in or adopted and have started doing it. And they really are enough to get the ball rolling. And what has to happen is what you mentioned, Ben. We can't stop there. And that's what most organizations do is they start to see that uptick in results like you're seeing, and they say, okay, we've done it. Let's move on to something else. So, year two and what's coming up next for your organization is truly about circling back to the things that you've already introduced to employees and leaders in the first year, and do that in such ways that you reach those people that haven't bought in yet, haven't adopted yet, and to still tend to the people that are doing it to make sure they don't stop doing that and they get better and more consistent at it. So, what would you say about the appetite and the realization in your organization to go after those that have not started, those that are the holdouts?
I want to start with actually, we've been using this diffusion curve with our leaders and asking, well, where do you think we are today? It's been a year. Where are we at today? And most leaders say we're anywhere from 10 to 15% of our organization.
Yes.
So I like to break it down and say, well, we've got 650 employees. So let's just say there's 65 to 90 people in our organization that are bought in,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest are not,
Mm-hmm.
or don't know,
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
right? We're building the foundation. We're doing this and we're talking about it. We're getting it out, but people are still trying to understand, well, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And as we roll things out, I believe things, you don't even have to buy in. It's just contagious. It's just something that you do. And people don't even know that they're doing it, but they're doing it. So for
Mm-hmm.
instance, hallway hospitality, and even before, we started our initiative, and we call ours the Experience Initiative. Even before we started, our organization did a great job of hallway.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason I wanted to join
Mm-hmm.
Glencoe Regional Health, is because of the people that are
Uh-huh.
here. So we have fantastic people that are already doing these things, but that was just part of the culture, and nobody had any structure around it. It's just something that they did. So as we bring things forward and people start doing it and seeing it being successful, you don't necessarily have to buy in. You just have to participate in what we do as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's contagious, and it will be contagious. And we're not going to get everybody
Oh,
to
you're
say
not?
I'm bought in. But I think there'll be things that people will do that they don't realize they're doing
Yeah.
because of the structure and foundation that we put in place.
Yeah. When you say we're at 10 to 15%, that number will keep going. It's just part of the race, right? We're going to have to keep running and keep bringing more people along for the race with us.
Yes. And to your point, there is, you can't give up, especially if there's senior leaders or leaders that aren't bought in and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this isn't going to work because we don't have everybody bought in.
Yeah.
Again, it's the right thing to do for your organization, your community, your patients, your residents, your employees.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yes, some don't see it, and that's okay. But if you feel internally, right, if you have the passion,
Mm-hmm.
you can't give up. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where grit and perseverance come in.
Yeah. And, to your point, they haven't bought in yet. So we're going after the yet, right? And year 2 gives you an opportunity to reach more and to elevate competency and consistency more in these practices that we know on the other side are really great results for your organization and the ones you're targeting to get. As we wrap up here, because you'll be back and we'll hear more about how this is going for you, which is great. As we wrap up this update for our audience, is there any final comments or words of wisdoms or insights you wanted to make sure we capture right now?
Yes, there are two things that I think happen for our organization. And when we were talking about change management, we had those who just intrinsically believe that it's the right thing to do. And then we have those who need data to support, to say, is it working? Are we doing the right things? Is the data tracking in the right direction? So that was a area that we really had to focus on, and ensuring that we had the data and that we were sharing the data in an appropriate way, a visual way, with people who are data driven. You do something and then the data will show if you're making progress or not. And we have 1/4 of data right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so as we track that data, and there we see improvements, and we have seen actually really amazing improvements in 1/4. So just for those listening, if you're
Mm-hmm.
starting a journey, there are people who are going to buy in right away and just feel it. But that at the same time, there are those who are waiting to see, if the data will show that there is progress being made.
Yeah, that's really creating the compelling why for them to change, to go. You mentioned, it's uncomfortable for them maybe to do some of these things, and they're not willing to go into that uncomfortable zone unless there's some hard data that says it's worth it. There are people like that. Yeah. And some other people, they will be intrinsically motivated. Again, it's all about our humanness, isn't it, Ben? We
Certainly.
are humans. We are a people industry, people serving people. And yeah, that provides us with some challenges when it comes to change.
One last thing for listeners is that when we started our vision for our experience initiative, our engagement with Capstone, was to be the employer and provider of choice. And I truly believe that we can't be the provider of choice where patients want to get their care at our organization if we're not the employer of choice. So it's really investing in your people because they are the ones caring for your patients, for your residents and your
Mhm.
community. And that's really powerful when you give the tools to your employees to be successful. And I truly, my responsibility is to create an environment where our staff can be successful so that they in turn can take care of our patients and residents at the highest level. The quality of care can be at the highest level.
Mhm.
I would just say this is investing in your people. This is
Mhm.
really about investing in your people, your leadership team, your frontline staff, your senior team. You're going to learn a lot, but you're learning the same things together. And there's value in that.
Yeah, to be all united and on the same page, even though, like you said, some are bought in, some are not. You're still on the same journey. You're still on the same initiative. You're just at a different place. That's going to happen in a large group. It is so wonderful to get this update on your first year and the work that your teams and leaders have been doing and the progress and results you're getting. It's great to hear this update, and it's been a joy for our team to work with your team, and we look forward and we keep cheering you on to much success in this next leg of your journey. I look forward to having you back again to have our next update to hear how it's going. So thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Sue. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.